Oh boy, Final Fantasy XI, where do I even start? Released back in 2002, 11 was the series' first official foray into MMO territory, a move that would forever change the landscape of the series and eventually pave the way for 14 over a decade later. Final Fantasy XI is still to this day the most financially successful game in the expansive series, and was ported at the time to the PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360 as well. The version we're looking at today is on the Xbox 360, and it's fitting too, since the unfortunate word came down recently that the console versions will be shut down in March of 2016. What made the game so different at the time was just that it simply wasn't scripted the same way that the previous entries in the series were. In 11, it's about creating your own avatar and traversing the beautiful yet dangerous world of Vana'diel with thousands of other adventurers. You'll partake in quests, explore dungeons, set off on missions for your home faction, explore the world, among countless other things. There's so much to do here that it can be a bit intimidating at times, but therein also lies a big part of 11's charm for me personally. Making progress in the game is truly satisfying, being that it never really holds your hand the same way that many other modern MMOs do. What I mean by that is that when you get a quest in Final Fantasy XI, you have to figure out a lot of it on your own. It's not just a matter of grabbing an item that's marked clearly on your minimap and returning to the quest giver. 11 will make you feel honestly like you worked for your reward, and that makes the reward all that much sweeter. So, I'm getting a little off track here. I could honestly just sit here and talk about what makes Final Fantasy XI special, but then we'd be here all night. What we're here to do today is to take a look at the 360 version specifically and see how it stacks up. And guess what? It's great. The 360 version of the game looks and plays wonderfully, and the game works beautifully on a 360 controller. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though, since just setting up the game and getting it ready to record footage on took me multiple days of struggling through convoluted Play Online subscription signups and multiple huge downloads to get the game up to date. Since the game is cross-platform though, the characters you've played with on the PC can be picked up right where you left off, which is super awesome and something I wish was a more common trait in games today. If you're even considering firing up this game on the 360 because of this video, go ahead and set aside a couple of days to get it done. Graphically, it's not as smooth as the PC version and will drop some frames when the action gets too intense, but generally it looks the same overall. It's basically like the difference between 14 on the PS4 versus the PC. It's close and super enjoyable still, but not quite perfect. It's a dated game for sure, and some of the character models and animations look a little stiff by today's standards, but the gameplay holds up really well. 11 on the 360 is just as charming regardless. Dated as it may be, it's still a thing of beauty when you take into account the scope of the game, which is absolutely massive. The sound and music is one of 11's strongest selling points, with a soundtrack that is nothing short of phenomenal. As a matter of fact, after playing the game again and remembering how great the music was, I hopped online and I ordered a copy of the soundtrack, and boy was it worth it. It may very well be one of the best Final Fantasy soundtracks of all time. I know I would personally put it in my top 5 for sure. These days, it's pretty easy to find a copy on the 360. There are multiple editions of the game that were released over the years, each coming bundled with whatever the most recent expansions were at the time. The version that I'm playing for this video is the Ultimate Collection, which contains everything up to the Seekers of Adoulin expansion. You can usually find a copy for less than $20 new, and you'll want it new since each copy comes with a one-time use registration code. Again, I could go on all day about Final Fantasy XI and everything that it did for the MMO genre and for console MMOs as well. The bottom line though is that FF11 is a tremendous game as it stands in any form, and you really can't go wrong playing the game on any platform. The 360 version stands out to me personally because it was the first console MMO that I ever tried, unless you count PSO on the Dreamcast. It's difficult, overwhelming, addictive, and it's a thing of beauty. It's a landmark game in the series, and one that really sticks with people on an entirely different level than a lot of other games do, and I understand why. It only takes the slightest taste of its world before the irresistible urge to explore takes hold of you and doesn't let go. It'll be a sad thing next year when the servers come down on the 360 and the PS2. But let's not shed a tear for Final Fantasy XI on the 360, but celebrate its last year of life by logging in and experiencing all the wonderful sights and sounds of Vana'diel one last time. Thankfully, I'll still be able to continue my adventures on the PC, but it's still sobering in a sense to witness the end of a console era. But hey, we still have almost a full year to log into the 360 version, and you better believe that I'll be there until the doors close in March.